You probably thought it was normal, just a little off. The truth is at one time I was, but now I'm a robot.
Hey everyone, Darren here, and on behalf of Phil and myself, Brandon, Laura, George, Jason, and everyone here at NGNG, we would like to give a huge thank you to you, our listeners, and the Battletech MechWarrior community at large. If it weren't for you, we would never have met this milestone of 100 weekly episodes over a little more than 2 years. So again, thank you for all of your support, past, present, and future, and here's to another 100. No Guts, No Galaxy is recorded in front of a live studio audience. This is an adult podcast containing adult language. Consider yourself warned.
Broadcasting live via HPG from their intergalactic jump ship in the far reaches of the inner sphere. Buckle up and get ready to join Phil, Sean Lang, Darren Bombadil, Brandon Catrakel, Laura BB Wolf, and Jason the Centurion for the centennial episode of No Guts, No Galaxy, which will arrive in system right now. All hands, make ready and prepare for jump.
You're listening to the Gamecasting Broadcast Network. Live from the Outreach Studios around the world, this is a No Guts, No Galaxy podcast. And now, your host, Phil, a.k.a. Sean Lang.
And welcome to the No Guts, No Galaxy podcast number 100. That's right. My name is Phil, and I'm your host. Today is January 15th, 2014. Happy New Year again. And I'm joined by Darren, a.k.a. Bombadil.
Hello.
And today's co-host, Brandon, a.k.a. Catrakel.
Hello.
Laura, a.k.a. BB Wolf.
Hi there.
Jason, a.k.a. the Centurion.
Hello.
And special guest, and he keeps coming back. We can't get rid of him. Tyler, a.k.a. Jaeger12.
Hello.
Of course, we have him chained up, but that's, beside the point.
I mean, he's into it. I don't judge.
Details.
We don't judge,
Don't worry, Tyler. I got the key.
Holy crap, guys. 100 episodes. I just want to say thank you to all of our listeners, just really quick. Our viewers, our followers, just everyone that has listened to and or been a part of the community and is a part of the MWO community, part of Battletech, part of Mech Commander, everything.
You know what's crazy, though, Phil, is that we still get messages. We just got one the other day from somebody who starts at the beginning, and they're like, I only have 10 more left, and I'm all caught up. Can you imagine people listening to all of us 100 times in a row?
I'm sorry.
I don't even know what to say.
I'm sorry.
That would give me an aneurysm. I really think so.
Well, no, yes. Someone actually just posted on Facebook. They're like, what do I do? I'm caught up. And I said, go watch more Mech porn on YouTube. And they're
what
like,
do I do?
Great idea. And then I was like, I know, right? And then you could come watch the streams. And yeah. So I just, kicking that off. It is the 100th episode for NGNG. And I'm super proud of, 100 episodes. That is definitely a big number. And
happy 100, everybody.
So what do we shoot for next? 100 is a pretty big milestone. Is it like 1,000 is the big one?
3049.
I kind of think every 100 is a big deal.
Okay, yeah, let's do 200.
Let's shoot for 200.
Realistic goal. Keep it simple. But, anyways, today our guest is Russ Bullock. Welcome back, Russ. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, it's a pleasure, man. So for those that may not know, Russ is the president of Piranha Games. And we've had him on the show quite a bit. And we've had some fun. We've had some entertaining moments. I think, actually, just looking back, Russ, one of my funniest moments with you was so we were doing a podcast.
Alt F4.
Yeah, well, that was the stream when he Alt F4.
That was my favorite.
That was pretty damn funny. But it was during the podcast, and we're talking about stuff, and Russ dropped the third person bomb on the stream. It was not in our notes or whatever. And oh wow, it caused some waves, and it was actually quite funny. But
got us a lot of listens.
I had to change my shoes, really.
Well, I'm here today to announce that I'm going to be selling You're on an Island t-shirts. I'm having them made. Anyone can order one for $100. It comes in gold only, gold color. It says you are on an island.
Awesome. I thought you were going to show up with like white hats for everybody, but I'll take the shirt.
The shirt's better. Gold,
right,
man.
So speaking of which, we've got a lot to talk to you about, and of course, this is a laid-back episode. We want everyone just to be relaxed. And speaking of which, we do know that you guys just announced earlier today that you had the public playtest going on for UI 2.0 tomorrow. And for those that may not know, that's 1 to 3 p.m. Eastern and 10 to 12 p.m. PST. Now, the public test, do you have any details as far as tomorrow? The differences, anything that's went in as far as changes?
Yeah, well, I think first off, I was playing it today, and it really feels great now. It's really starting to feel tight and polished. I think people are going to enjoy playing it. I recommend everyone to come out and play it. And essentially, this is I believe basically 100% functioning public test version. I'm not positive, but I think you might even be able to launch into matches from it, so don't quote me on that. But basically, it's 100% functional. But also keep in mind that when you're testing it, it doesn't contain absolutely everything that you'll see February 4th. There still are, I think, 4 particular improvements. Something that communicates heat scale a little bit, kind of a Smurfy-style overall summary aspect, a little more cleanup of MechLab, and there's about 4 things that were taken from feedback from the players that are being worked on right now that my understanding is they're all going to make it for the February 4th. So you won't see those in tomorrow's public test, but I think there'll be one more public test prior to February 4th where you'll get to play those things as well. So everything's on track. You're definitely going to see UI 2.0 on February 4th. It's going to have a number of improvements that the players have requested. And I guess the only other final message is that, that's just version 1, right? Here we go. Is that confusing? Version 1 of UI 2.0 will be February 4th, but then, you should see frequent and constant iterations and updates from there on out.
And I think that's an important note, too, is just because it comes out, it doesn't mean it's the end-all, be-all. There's going to be changes, there's going to be fixes, and, there may be feedback that I'm assuming you guys would be like, yeah, that totally makes sense. Let's implement that change. Just why not? So I'm super excited because, I remember I missed the last test. I was able to participate in the first one, and a lot of people were reporting on just it was more of like the, I guess, ergonomics, like being able to click on one thing, but then having to go to the other side of the screen. So functionality, a lot of people had a lot of, feedback, complaints about that. And, we talked to you and Brian about that. So it's good to know that's coming as far as on, and that's February 4th, correct?
That's right, February 4th for version 1. But I think, to me, that kind of takes the game to another level as far as just overall polish and feel. I mean, the original UI, we've talked about the original reasons why certain things were done. Doesn't really matter anymore. New version's coming out, and I think it just looks so nice. I mean, just the ability, the lighting's so much better. You see the mech so much better when you're applying your camos or when you're turning your mech around and rotating the mech. It rotates nice and smooth with really great lighting, and I don't know, I think it's just going to cause people to have more and more, mech lab crack than they had before, probably. Just because it's so much prettier.
Hear that, Phil? It's just the lighting, man. But
did you
Russ,
did you see Brian's 4K image of the mech lab earlier on Twitter?
No.
Oh my God.
Is it beautiful?
It's a lot of mechs.
I think you could show oh my gosh, he must have had 80 mechs up on screen at one time or something.
Nice.
But I do find it's pretty easy to find your modules, because that's my challenge right now, is I've got 40-some mechs, and I lose where I put my advanced zoom or, seismic. I forget which mech I played last, and I got to go hunting through 40 mechs to find it. Is it easier to find that kind of stuff?
Well, that you bring up a really good point of something that probably isn't there for version 1. I mean, at first, that's easier just in general to go to modules and have the little sorting tabs so I think it does sort out a lot easier how you can buy and place your modules. But the first version won't have some of the things that we would expect as far as that makes life so much easier. One example also is, where's my coconut monkey bobblehead, right? I have no idea where it is, and I have 100 mechs in my my client, so I'm sifting through my mechs trying to find my coconut monkey bobblehead. Well, It's an issue. You're still gonna have that issue day one on February 4th. But I've been talking to Paul about those things. Just like, okay, autofill of consumables, right? That's something you won't have quite there on February 4th yet. So a few of those types of things will come on after the fact, but they won't take too long. I mean, I'm not going to commit to dates, but I would expect on a monthly basis you're going to see features like that rolling out until we've basically taken care of all of them. And there's probably not too many. We can all think of, if we put our heads together, there's probably a half a dozen things like that in that category. We're like, oh, geez, where's my Coconut Monkey bobblehead? How do I know which mechs have what on it? And that also applies to modules, right? Like, where's your 6 million C-build module? You got to have it. You don't want to buy another one. You don't want to go looking for it. So there's a few of those things that are going to come after the fact.
We definitely don't want to neglect our monkeys. Now, Russ, you've mentioned, Brian's mentioned, sorry, I have ducks, if you can't hear, and they want to be in the podcast, evidently. You guys mentioned before that, seriously, they came right up to my window and just started doing this right now.
You really want a duck bobblehead now?
Thank you. Let them finish.
They respond.
No, keep going.
Damn you, George.
We can do this all night.
You guys have mentioned that UI 2.0 has basically been kind of a bottleneck for more features and so forth. That includes, obviously, UI 2.0 features. So when that comes out, that kind of opens the gates for more development, more features coming in. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. I guess I won't say much more than that because I think we beat that to death. Everyone understands that it's been a bottleneck for a bunch of reasons. Not only the actual people that work on UI are tied up on it, but when you think of a feature like, okay, we want just weight restrictions for matchmaking. Well, it's always like, well, geez, do we take the guys off of UI 2.0 to create the UI functionality we need, build it into 1.5 to put weight restrictions in, further delaying UI 2.0, or do we keep them on? So it's like, let's get UI 2.0 done, and then we'll put the weight restrictions aspect into UI 2.0. So that's just one example, but there's hundreds of examples that we're just waiting on UI 2.0.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to beat a dead horse or anything like that, but for me it's exciting because it basically means this is the beginning of new things happening with the game on a regular basis.
I also look at it just from the functionality and the point of, I remember talking to Brian Windover and a few of the others about it, it's the back-end stuff. A lot of people are focused on the aesthetics, obviously, and the new and improved functionality of it all, and being able to go full screen. Oh, thank God, finally, stuff like that. But what they were basically saying is it's the functionality. Don't, just because of where something is placed, don't think, well, it can't be changed. What I basically got out of it was it can be changed relatively easily because of the back end changes, whereas currently they just couldn't do that. So
right, I guess in a really simple way, you can think of the old one as much more of a hard coded versus just done properly, right? So one example of what you said there would be just something like, we have sales every weekend, right? Well, we only had sales every weekend, and it was always Friday to Tuesday. It was fairly rigid because we were forced to bring down the servers, at least very briefly, to make those things happen. Well, with February 4th, the necessary back-end changes that are fairly significant that don't really, it's not easy to see. It's not like it's up on the screen, but now all that stuff is dynamic. So, for instance, we could put just a particular mech or a particular module or particular whatever, any object in the game really, on sale dynamically. So Friday afternoon we say, hey, we're going to give 7 days of premium time at 50% off for the next 4 hours. And we don't even have to bring the servers down. It just happens right in the client, and it's in real time, and you can do it, and all that stuff happens without having to bring the servers down or anything. So it's going to be, that's a huge example of a massive undertaking that is in the back end, but will really help everything moving forward.
All right, so looking forward, we've got we just had the patch this past week, Gridiron and changes to the AC 10 and 20 and stuff like that. But for the 21st, what can people expect next week? I mean, there hasn't been a whole lot. I think the only thing possibly confirmed is the cockpit glass. Can you give us some details on next week's patch?
So yeah, it's definitely you got one more pretty light patch here before the February 4th one. So. We'll talk more about the February 4th patch here in a bit. The 21st is really just you got cockpit glass, and you have what do you call it? The good old Battle Master. So obviously the Battle Master then becomes available for everyone to purchase. So that's cool. If you've been waiting on getting a Battle Master, you didn't buy Phoenix package, and you want to get yourself a Battle Master, that could be interesting for you. The cockpit glass, I'm excited about. I mean, keep in mind, everyone, that on the 21st, it's just a visual effect. It's fairly mild in most situations. If you get in certain angles with the light, it becomes quite prevalent. You can see that it's there. So it's it's really minor visual effect that kind of gives a little more immersion. But what I hope it represents is our ability to do more in the future. Perhaps what I'd like to make happen and is maybe if you take a hit to the cockpit, now we have something to affect, right? So if you've taken a hard hit to the head, we can crack the glass and do some things like that. So I don't know when those other effects might be able to take place, but starting on the 21st, you'll at least have that visual effect of the cockpit glass. And that actually reminded me, I guess, of one more thing. As everyone knows, if they read the forums, there is another series of the hitbox tweaks and improvements happening as well for the 21st, and that's actually became a list of 6 different mechs, I believe. And I don't have it memorized. You can get all the details in the forums in the command share section. Paul's latest post on the hitbox improvements. So I think those have been overall well received. The hitbox improvements have been leveling the playing field, I think, a fair bit, and kind of noticeable improvements. So that's really your January 21st patch. It's not heavy, but that's because basically since the Christmas break, everyone's really just been working towards the February 4th patch.
I was going to say anything that can bring a level of immersion, the better for me. I mean, like, for instance, when you guys did the 2009, trailer to, get the attention of publishers and stuff out then, I mean, the immersion factor when your mech is literally disintegrating underneath you and, the ejecting, all those things, those are the type of things I know myself I would love to see in MWO, even though it has no gameplay functionality and stuff like that. Like just
sometimes just the little things like combat chatter in the background, or like I love on River City, the battles that are happening in the background. Little tiny things that, in my opinion, add a lot, definitely.
Well, I've always been kind of a proponent here internally of one of the downsides of running your mech really hot would be that possibly there'd be a minor amount at least of sort of steam in the cockpit, which might even get to the point where it slightly obscures your vision. But I just never really got any traction. I think that maybe people thought that would be too obtrusive or not fun. It might sound cool sort of thing, but one of those things that sounds really neat but turns out to be not very fun. And they might have been right, so I didn't push that hard on it. But I'd throw that out there, see if people want to comment or say, no, I want that. That would be sick.
Well, as far as that's concerned, I can tell you yes. The whole heat and really, how do you bring that experience to a computer game to where you are in a mech that's creating, just tremendous amounts of heat, to where in the novels and lore, you can roast yourself, you can pass out, you can almost kill yourself. Like, how do you bring that? And I think, obviously there are some visual effects that you guys could definitely do, and especially riding that line of, really, really hot and pushing the limits of your mech. I think you could do it.
It always seemed to me that in the books and so forth, when it got really hot, it wasn't a matter of steam so much, but more like sweat getting in your eyes or something like that.
Yeah, I like the cracked glass. That's what I'm kind of hoping for, because it works really, really well in some other games. Kind of take us off track here for a minute, but like the Metro series, I'm playing that, and there's like a gas mask I put on, and that thing can get cracked and battle damaged, and you can't see what's going on, and it just really adds a lot of tension. So you put me in a Mech Warrior situation like that, and I take a headshot, and it cracks my windshield, and I've kind of got to adapt and overcome to that. I'd be all for it.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I think, if others out there feel the same way, just make your thoughts known on the forums. Try to spread the word on the forums, start a poll, whatever. It helps, internally, I think, for me to say, let's do cracked glass if it sounds like someone likes it more, not just me. So I'll throw that out to everybody and say, hey, let the guys know that you want it. I guess what I'm saying here is don't just because I like it doesn't mean it's going to get in the game, right? So we need some more people saying that would be cool. And along the same lines, I might throw another homework assignment up there. I think the Jenner Hero Mech Oxide is pretty cool. I've played with it. I've had fun with it, but it probably didn't turn out as good as I'd like it to have, or a lot of us might have wanted it to. I'm going to tell everyone, all your listeners, a bit of a story there. So originally, Oxide was actually a 6 missile hardpoint mech. It had, I guess, what was that, 2 center torso, 2 in each arm, I guess. So you had a total of 6. And through testing, it was determined it was just too powerful. It was, I still don't think it had jump jets or anything, but 6 streak Jenner just seemed, the opinion was, I never played it myself, I never necessarily determined that, but it was determined that it was just OP. So some conversations happened or whatever, and what the end result was, it got 2 missile hardpoints nuked and it ended up with 4. We might have gone too far. So I would like to, I've been talking to David, a guy internally that kind of does that stuff for the Hero Mechs, and trying to decide, what could we do to kind of maybe bump it up a bit, get it up to where maybe it should be. And maybe out there people are saying, no, it's already too powerful, but I don't think so. But I'm just want to throw that out there. One thought might be give it 2 ballistic hard points. So there's no Jenners with ballistic, so that'd be kind of cool. So you could have 2 machine guns and then the 4 streaks or something. That's pretty neat. Maybe just giving it jump jets and that's it. And the way it is, 4 missile hard points and jump jets is the key. I don't know. I'll take some opinions from you guys right here in the group, but I might throw that out there and say maybe someone would start a poll and sort of throw something out there, because obviously we want it to be balanced and not be overpowered, but I'd prefer it be thought of as I don't know, good.
Yeah, I think jump jets are probably overwhelmingly the biggest detractor from it, from people picking it more often. Not to say that 2 ballistic hardpoints wouldn't be awesome, but you definitely don't want to cross the line the other way and go too OP. But I definitely have heard tons of people saying jump jets.
Yeah, the Oxide right now is by no means overpowered, and adding jump jets to it could make it a viable mech.
Yeah, I don't solo with it. I use it as a wingman. I'll partner up with a Raven 3L or a Cicada that's got 2 ER large and just cover them. So it's been fine for a wingman mech, but for just a solo play, I think it could probably use some love.
Definitely even just limiting the jump jets, instead of allowing it to have 5 or whatever, bump it only to 2 or 3 or something like that. Maybe even drop one of the missiles in the center torso and add 1 on each arm again, so you have 5 missiles and 2 jump jets or something like that.
Yeah, that's interesting thought. I ran it with 4 LRM5s and was kind of having fun, but I kind of like that. I wonder if just a couple jump jets would be enough, or you'd have to go with 2 jump jets and then, as you say, either maybe 5 missile hard points, or if you get into ballistic, a couple machine guns. It's kind of neat that it's an all missile Jenner. I think that's kind of the spirit of what the Oxide is, I guess. So I guess maybe it's right to kind of stick with that and kind of go, maybe recommend 5 missile hard points with 2 jump jets or something. But hey, if someone wants to take up the torch and start a poll and do it in the right spirit, I'd love to have some ammunition to kind of make a tweak to it.
Yeah, I definitely think in regards to Oxide as well as cockpit glass and the glass breaking, we as the community need to step up and let our voices be heard and let them know that this way or that way on those issues. Russ is asking, let's fulfill. But yeah, that sounds good.
Sweet.
Unleash engine cap restrictions on medium mechs. Do it.
Back of the
I don't know about that.
Good.
Personal request there.
Yeah, I know, right? Remember that during closed beta?
Heatsink
You
limits
don't want 130 kph hunchbacks in again.
Yeah, we saw those once upon a time. I do like the fact that we have the ability to differentiate between mechs more. I mean, I personally kind of like it when you get a series of mechs like Hunchback, for instance, and one particular variant can go faster than another variant. I don't know. I personally like that quite a bit, so that it's not like every single Hunchback can, go the exact same speed if you wanted to. Because we already have, I think, a hard enough time differentiating the variants. Right now, we're pretty much restricted to, but we've got the ability to say, the hard points. So one might have, 2, 3, and 2 as far as the various hard points. The other one's 1, 4, and 2 or something like that. But we also have the ability to play with the little quirks, and we also have the ability to play with the engines. I wish there was a few more ways to play with it, so I'd be loath probably to limit the ways that we can differentiate them.
Well, one of the mechs, speaking of the Hunchback, before we move on, obviously the Gridiron and the other mechs like the 4G, 4SP, 4P, and 4H and 4J. The 4J now, it reduced missile box on the right torso. Love it. It reduced the 4SP if you take off the missiles as well. Again, little things like that. Again, I love, and it definitely makes each unique and different. But as far as the Oxide, I think it could use some love. I have played it one time, and I was like, no.
You rage quit so hard.
I was like, this is not me. I'm not going to subject myself.
I'm wondering who nerfed it, and I'm guessing it probably had something to do with Garth, because he's like, man, this thing's just taking my territory as a cicada. It's like, nerf these Jenners.
All right, so we got to.
I think it mostly came from QA, but anyhow, go on, proceed.
Okay, we got to move on. So we've talked about January 21st, and now we've got February 4th around the corner. We know UI 2.0 is going public. You just mentioned that not all of the little bit of details like, modules and where's my coconut monkey and all that will be there, and there may need to be some tweaks in there. What other things are coming out? What other features or content or, that are going live on the 4th?
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be a good patch because besides that, which is going to be a draw in and of itself, shoot, let me see here. I'm pretty sure I'm going to drop just a hint. This one I can't tell you everything about because I haven't got the clearance, but I think, let me look at my calendar here quick. There's only...
Drum roll.
There should only be the 2 patches in February, right? So you should have a new mech on February 4th. It'll be a hero mech, and it'll be a new mech, meaning...
New chassis?
Yeah, new chassis. It hasn't been announced yet. It's
Is this the controversial light mech?
I don't know if it's a controversy. What does that mean? What's a controversy?
That means it's a panther?
Brian
It means not the flea.
Brian was on a previous show, and he said that one of the upcoming mechs is a light mech, and that it'll be controversial.
Well, I haven't heard it being called controversial before, so I don't know if I'm talking about the same thing he was. I can't say for sure.
Is it a kitty?
I don't know. It's not a panther. It's not the panther. See,
Ooh!
You're eliminating them one by one, so don't do that anymore.
So it's a scorpion then.
I know some people...
It's a fire starter.
It's a Bandersnatch.
It's going to be, you know what it is? Urban mech.
See,
Well,
Has
I
to be
think
35 tons.
it's always been...
Anyhow, I was told that we had a new mech, the hero version first, in the first patch in February. So I think I'm right in saying this. So there will be a new mech. So just to be clear, it's not one of the Phoenix mechs or anything that's been announced. It's a new chassis. So I'll throw that out there. I'm pretty sure that's coming out February 4th. Hopefully I'm not hanging myself, but based on what I was told today, that should be true. And then besides that stuff I can talk about, of course, there is what are we calling it? It's the reworking of Assault mode. It's described a few different ways, but the revamping, or there's a few adjectives used. But basically, it's similar, except I guess we have skirmish now, as you know, which really is Assault without bases. Full team deathmatch. So to differentiate it a little bit more, and also to make it a little different from Conquest, meaning Assault used to use the same bases that Conquest has. Now, Conquest, it makes sense because they're resource collectors, right? Assault didn't make that much sense. So my understanding is there's a new base model. It's some kind of mobile headquarters style model. I haven't seen it. That's how I heard it described to me. It doesn't move around. It's still stationary, but it has a different look to it, first off. I think it's a little bigger, I believe, because we also add the turret aspect to it. So I haven't played against these turrets yet. I don't think you can expect them to be dominating or anything, but they can hit you, and they can end up killing you if you're absolutely down to crumbs. So it's going to add a different element to base capturing. So if you're looking to do a base cap, there's going to be a bit of a new look and feel, and also a bit of a different feel to how you'll go and accomplish capping that base. I haven't played it enough yet, play testing it, to speak to how easy and or hard it would be as a single 20-ton locust to go and cap a base. I'm not sure if I can speak to that at this time. So, I'm going to play it around with it more. It's hitting, I believe, stable, like our test servers as soon as this 21st patch goes out, so probably by Tuesday, Wednesday, I'll be in a spot where I can play it very easily. So that's that. I think that's going to be pretty neat. So they've revamped that for every map, so you're going to have a new spin to Assault mode. So I think the 3 game modes now will be, more different from each other than they are currently. And I guess one other thing, what we're calling, I guess it's being referred to as Tier 1 weapon modules. I think there's a couple different terms at play there, but what this basically means is there is some more modules to earn out. They're based on weapons, and my understanding is that you'll have access to levels 1 and 2 on February 4th. The later levels aren't going to be available for a while because they're more, in order to access, say, level 3, you would need to have the character or the pilot level system in place that isn't going to be in place for a little while yet. So there'll be, I guess, this concept will expand further when we get the player level system. But right now, you're going to have access to levels 1 and 2. And these are to do with the weapons. But I'll give you a couple examples so people's imaginations don't run too wild. First off, it's not like the game balance or the game should be changed to some incredible degree, because it's not like you can work on these things and maximize every single weapon on your mech, to some extreme degree. First off, the module will take up a module slot like anything else. So if you have 3 module slots, you might be able to affect 3 different types of weapons, which might cover up all your weapons. But the trade-off is, of course, you're not going to be able to put your other stuff in there, whether it's your range sensor stuff or your consumables, etc. So there'll be be big trade-off to put these on. And I've got an Excel sheet here in front of me that if I mention the specifics, someone will start crunching numbers and hang us if they change. So I'm loath to do that. But for example, let's say you get one for a level 1, a range modifier for a small laser. In this case, it might increase the minimum range, or rather the maximum range, by a few meters, and it might create also, all of them have a bit of a trade-off. So if you get a few extra meters of range, you might get just a small fraction more of heat buildup. So there's ones for range, there's ones for other aspects. So you might determine that for you, what really means the most is getting a little more range out of your weapons. So you might choose to actually put one of your 3 module slots might be a range modifier for SRMs, because that's important to you, because that's the way you play, or just for autocannon 10s because that's what you play, etc. So I think it'll be interesting. It's not turning the game into an MMO, as someone said to me on Twitter or anything like that, but it's going to add just a little more depth to weapon selection, and I guess in particular module selection.
Now with those modules, again, you were saying you have to choose those over other modules. So like, for instance, seismic, or target decay, or UAVs, or airstrikes and stuff. So you could definitely see where, depending on how many there are and what their effects are, and obviously you said 1 to 2 levels and then 3 later, stuff like medium range increase, or for your medium lasers, or just a little bit more effective range, or this or that. I mean, those are all, to me, little things that more choices are better, in my opinion. I especially when you want to custom build something like a mech to fit a certain playstyle, whether it's SRMs, ballistics, energy, or both. Those are one of those things more options the better. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
Well, let me give you an example. Let's say you're a 4 machine gun toting Spider, what is it, the 5K? The Spider machine gun?
Mm-hmm.
Spider machine gun one. There's a Vandenberg M7 machine gun barrel, range 1. Or, I guess, level 2 on here. I think, if I'm reading this correctly, the Lexitech S2 machine gun barrel. Well, okay, so I'm not sure if I'm reading this right, but I just had Matt send me some of this before the thing so I could talk a little more officially to it. I'm probably going a little far here, since all this is probably still under test as far as exact numbers, but the long range might be increased by 2.6 meters, and then the maximum range by 5.2 meters. Well, that's a fair bit, I guess, or seems like maybe a meaningful amount for a Spider 5K who's got their four machine guns, and he's going to be able to do the maximum damage for several meters further out. So that's just one slight example. And other weapons, of course, that are more built for long range, like an AC2, might be more like 45 meters rather for maximum range, or 15 meters, etc. So they're kind of scaled per, and we've designed these, of course, that would test them as much as we can prior, but all these values can be tweaked as they go live, and we figure out just what's the right balance. But it's just going to add more options, like you said.
Well, we'll keep in mind that you're just giving some examples, not to hold you to those numbers. Take it with a grain of salt. And also remember, people, that because I do see some responses in regards to the tweaking, that it's nothing's final, just like the game is never going to be final.
Yeah, he's just giving analogies, examples of what he's talking about. And then now I did have a question. DirectX 11, do you have any news on that, Russ?
Yeah, I mean, it's done. Right, and you guys have heard that for a while. It really is. But we had this bug that was really stuck in our craw where we thought, yeah, it's good enough to release, but there was a certain number of people that were complaining about GX11 running really slow, and we discovered that was some NVIDIA cards were having issues with slowdown. So it still wasn't necessarily going to prevent us from launching. We thought, well, for those individuals, they could still just leave it on DirectX 9, right? But for whatever reason, and again, kind of relating to UI 2.0 and the amount of tests that had to go into UI 2.0 to make sure that it was ready, and the Christmas break thrown in there, we just got to a point where we said, let's focus testing on UI 2.0 and get it out, and let's get that bug fixed, the NVIDIA bug fixed, so when DX11 goes out, for all intents and purposes, it's perfect as far as we know. Everything's fixed. So that's the case. That issue's already been fixed. So I would imagine the second UI 2.0 goes out, you're going to see a public test set up for DX11 straight away. So as you guys saw in the post, right now it's got a March 4th date set on it for DX11. I think there's still a chance we could possibly see it a little bit sooner, but March 4th is what we put in there. If we launch 2.0 on February 4th, and then perhaps later that week we see a DX11 test and it goes perfectly, I guess there's a chance you could see February 18th, but if it doesn't make February 18th, then it would be March 4th. So that's the story behind DX11. We wanted to fix that bug so there wasn't the percentage of our players, 10-20%, I'm not sure what the percentage was, but there was some that were experiencing big slowdowns. So we're getting that fixed before it goes out. But
so it's in the queue.
There should be no chance of a further delay at all. It's like I couldn't see any possibility of that happening. It definitely should be coming out no later than March 4th.
All right, so we got February 4th patch. We've got a new mech, you said. We've got, obviously, UI 2.0. All
turrets.
the other little things going. Turrets, differentiating assault, conquest, and skirmish. One more, I guess, question towards this that you might know, Russ, is, weight balancing, matchmaker, and ELO and stuff. Do you have any feedback on that particular subject? We have a lot of people that, it's one of those things, like, if you play quite a bit, you may run into a lot of, issues as far as people taking all assaults, or like a particular type of drop deck. Do you have any words or thoughts on that?
Only to reiterate that it's all coming with launch module. So I want that stuff as much as you guys do. I've always been a little nervous about any group size from 2 to 12, and all along since the beginning, especially when we see other games like World of Tanks, for instance, limit the maximum group size to 3 in a pub, right? I mean, you cannot have a group bigger than 3. And that's because of the organization that happens over VoIP is pretty incredible, as you guys know. So you have a group of 4, a really good group of 4 in pubs. If there isn't something to match on the other side, like another group of 4 with VoIP, it can be pretty overwhelming. So we know there's a lot of that happening right now. There's definitely certain games that you might get some games that are well balanced, but half the time you'll probably get some that aren't. They'll have an extra. Well, they could have an extra, who knows, 40, 50, 60 tons, depending, right? Right now it's light, medium, et cetera. So someone's got a Locust, the other team's got a Jenner. They've got an Awesome, the other team's got an Atlas. So the tons can add up pretty quick. Right there in that example, there's 35 tons. We've only done 2 of the 12 mechs, right? So it can get kind of out of control. But the matchmaker is a really difficult thing. You guys have played other games. The number one thing complained about in any of the games is matchmaker. No matter how much they work on it, it seems like matchmaker gets to be is always an issue. Well, I guess this is one of those things, one of those times where I guess the restrictions of BattleTech and MechWarrior, which usually play against us and have so far to this point, in this one aspect will start to work for us when we do the launch module, which, as you guys know, is the first half of April. When we get the weight restrictions in, it will put the onus on you guys to follow the rules and you're setting up your groups, but at least we will have extremely balanced groups. There will be at least a slight range, if you guys have seen some of the ranges, but I think the maximum fluctuation of range between is just a few, 10, 20, 30 tons perhaps across an entire company. So for the most part, I think we're going to see 12 to B12, that's just within a few tons of each other. So that's going to take out a ton of the difficult programming that it takes to try and make stuff like that happen. Most of that's now on the onus of the players. It's like, hey, follow these rules, and we'll naturally get groups that are very balanced. And that's going to, so both the 2 through 12 groups and the weight restrictions per group and per lance and per company is all going to come with launch modules first half of April.
I have 3 questions regarding the 2 to 12 queue. First, in the 2 to 12 queue, are you concerned about things going back to the old pub stomp days? I know that solo players will be able to do it themselves, but what if 12 really high elo players that get together and coordinated? There's pretty much nothing in the game that could stop a group like that. Are you concerned about kill-death ratios going back over 30 plus and win-loss ratios over 10?
Well, I'm concerned about everything, but I suppose, first off, at least now we know that the tonnages per side will be equal. But secondly, you shouldn't have a situation where a group of 12 or a group of 10 or 8 or some large group, or even a group of 2 with really high elos should be in a match still with noobs or pubs. Because it's not like the elo system is going away, right? The part of the matchmaker we have now stays, and part is done away with. So we keep the part that still keeps track of elo and tries to match players' elo scores together. The part that we lose is the part where the matchmaker currently tries to match a light to a light, a medium to medium, etc. That part is replaced with the actual tonnage restrictions set in the establishments of our matchmaker and in our group creation. So what you should still get is the same amount of tons, or very near the same amount of tons per side, and you should still be matched up as close as possible from an ELO standpoint. So,
which leads me to the next question. Right now, players playing solo to up to the 4s in queue, high ELO players can go a long time failing to find match over and over and over without being able to play. Because there's no available games within their ELO range to play. With making a group up to 12 people, what if everyone is like a 2500 plus ELO, and there's no way that the other team can possibly be that high? Will that team just consecutively fail forever?
Well, you got the wrong guy here to ask all your questions to. We need to have some different engineers here to answer how they're planning on solving those questions, or even Paul, the lead designer. So I understand right now the wait time for ELO players has gotten pretty long. That's happened for a couple reasons. One is we recently added the skirmish game mode, which creates another bucket. That's something we've been talking a bit about. It's not like the player counts are super low. They're actually, as high really as they've ever been. It's just adding another bucket, and then on top of that, at certain times a day, it seems like, especially the higher ELO players are playing, and or rather, they're having a harder time. Rather, maybe there's less ELO players, high ELO players playing, so they're having a harder time finding matches. I think there's some other solutions with the new matchmaking when it comes to weight restrictions in order to handle that. And I've also thrown out one idea to the group that should be that perhaps the bucket selection, and this is just a suggestion that hasn't been accepted by anyone, but perhaps the bucket selection should be looked at more as a suggestion. And I guess I'd be wondering how players would feel about that, meaning, if you say, hey, I want to play Conquest, would you rather the matchmaker at 2 minutes or whatever say, hey, I know you want to play Conquest, but I can get you a match right now in Assault. So let's rather just kind of assume your selection of a bucket is the strong suggestion of what you'd want to play, rather than I don't want to play anything but this. I'd rather have my match fail. So there's a few things to talk about, but I can't answer your questions on the matchmaker on a depth, the depth that you're asking, right now. I'd have to get someone else to help me out.
So
with
Russ,
that.
what you're just talking about is sort of like a leniency to your matchmaker. Like you could say, be a little bit more lenient. It's okay if I go up against a little bit higher ELO players.
No, he was talking about extending it to other game modes rather than maybe the one that you just selected.
Well, I've been playing on any now for the past few months, and even on any queue where it will give me any match I can possibly find, I can still, during prime time, fail 4 or 5 times consecutively. That's 15 minutes waiting to play the game, queuing over and over.
Tyler, what we're going to do, this is totally on our radar. Phil and I have talked about this a lot over the last month. We're going to get somebody on here that can ask, since Russ, that's not his area of expertise. Okay. But we're aware of it. We totally know that they're aware of it. We've talked to Garth, we've talked to Paul, we've talked to Matt, we talked to a lot of people up there. It is being addressed, it is being looked at, but we'll get details. We'll have somebody else on the show for those. I'm
just going to jump in again. One final comment on that is that, we might have to look at doing kind of a reset of ELO, at least to kind of reestablish things, because what we've had happen is some of our hardcore players that have grouped together and have played in pubs together as a group, they win, and they win a lot. In fact, they win a heck of a lot, and therefore your ELO scores go through the roof. And right now the matchmaker, all we have to do also is loosen the restrictions. Right now, this thing, it kind of ebbs and flows with the players that are playing the game in Mech Online. There was a time where the current code right now worked pretty well for you guys, and now is a time where it's not working so well. So it's not right now. The matchmaker, hits a limit of 3 minutes or whatever, and if it hasn't met that criteria, it just stops. Whereas before, we used to have it. Well, as soon as it got to 3 minutes, it said, "Okay, put anything together." Meaning, even if you have to go up against guys that are 1,000 less ELO score than you, it would put that match together. Currently, the matchmaker doesn't do that. So we could always either A, set it back to being more and more lenient, so that if you get close to 3 minutes, you'll never fail. It'll essentially put a match together for you, even if the players on the other side are much lower than we currently have it set to. I think right now it might only be set to 300 or 400 ELO separation. Don't quote me on those numbers, but we can always expand that. We can say, okay, 5, 6, and every minute that goes by, it adds a couple hundred more ELO, so that you will definitely get a match. So right now, the restriction has kind of got to a point where it's timing out too much. So, but we're also looking forward to when the new matchmaker system starts, that maybe at that point, maybe we could reset ELO scores and kind of allow the new matchmaking system to kind of reestablish where things are at. But none of these are solid, so don't quote me on those. But I think if you're timing out for 15 minutes at a time, that is really unacceptable. And I think with that information tomorrow, I'm gonna have to talk to Matt Craig and ask that the guys really consider loosening up the the restrictions here as soon as possible, even for the next patch if still possible, so that isn't happening.
Just to let you know, Russ, we can vouch for that. Phil and I, we've watched them time out over and over and over again.
Well, I will say this, Jaeger, pipe in here. Russ, I think you just said something very important as far as resetting the ELO. Based on the current ELO is based on the current mechanics of how Matchmaker and how the game is, right? And, Jaeger, we were talking about this last night about how, you guys have to take a certain type of, mech and loadout and, to fight these other groups. And, some of these loadouts become very, I would say strong, and then with a weight balancing with the launch module, what they're talking about, I feel like a reset for ELO wouldn't be a bad thing. And someone said, oh, well, you're going to punish good players. That has nothing to do with punishing new players. It's resetting the ELO score and letting the new system, you're going to get your ELO score back up there. It's just going to be based on the new mechanics of the
and until you do, you're going to have a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things
that would be
fun. I don't think that's a problem, and it's not punishing at all. And I think it's a total valid concern. And I think, Russ just said it right. I mean, it's not, I was telling you guys this, we joke around, but, well, you shouldn't be so damn good at this game. That's your problem, right? But I mean, when you're dropping with 4 Highlanders, and we were talking about this last night, and that's what you have to drop in to be competitive. Now you throw in this new launch module and that weight matching, you may not have those fars. So now people are going to have to step outside their comfort zones, find new setups that work. Not saying that your ELO is going to change on that, but I do know for a fact that there were people that ELOs were bloated because of the beginning of open beta till now, run in groups in 4-mans of all of the the top meta. And I mean, I'm not saying they're bad players. I'm not saying they don't deserve that ELO. What I'm saying is I think there will be changes, and I think it is.
Well, and like Oddwalla mentioned, there's competitive games out there that reset their ELOs every season. It's not like a horrible thing to do that.
I'm going to as soon as I get off this podcast, I'll send an email out to a couple of the guys here. They've been talking. There's been several emails trading places all week long about matchmaking, so it's on their minds, as they said. But I'm going to pipe up and say, I didn't know people were timing out 5 times in a row for 15 minutes. I wasn't aware of that. That's unacceptable. I think we can't expect those players to wait until April, obviously. So we're going to have to loosen the restrictions to a point. So it's, timing out once here and there is okay, right? But it shouldn't be like that. So let's loosen that up. Let's fix it. Let's make sure they're finding matches. And then, we'll work to that'll, tide us over until we get to April. But I'd like to take the third part of his question. And then unfortunately, I got a bolt on you guys. Got to get back home and
dig a bolt.
Take care of the kids and the whole bit.
Part 3 of the question is very important to your competitive players, is that once you implement the 2 to 12 queue, will private matchmaking be in the game at that time? Because if it's not, right now it's already kind of difficult to sync drop with another team in the 12s queue. But in a 2 to 12s queue, where there is no just 12 queue, how are we going to be expected to find matches with other people? Is it just going to bring the competitive drops to a grinding halt?
You're talking about community leagues. That's what he's referring to, being able to do community leagues.
My understanding is that, yes, private matches is part of launch module in the first half of April. That's where I would get a little hazy, and I can't answer it very well on exactly how private matches work. That's more Brian Eckman, etc. Whether can you do a private match with any less than 12v12? I think I've heard something about that, but I better not comment on that. But I think the important thing, the thing you're really focusing on, is are private matches going to be available with launch module in the first half of April? And the answer is yes.
Excellent. Thank you, Russ.
Awesome. Now, Russ, I know we've kept you over your time. Sorry to interrupt you there, Phil. And we totally appreciate you taking the time out. I know you could have gone home an hour ago. But I'm just real quickly, I just want to know if you had any comment on, well, the first vlog just went up recently, the first vlog video. Basically, what the purpose is with those and what we can expect to see moving forward.
Well, I mean, yeah, I think people liked it. That's really great. The sound will be improved. We had some issues with the sound. So that'll be better. And I think we're also, obviously looking forward to creating them so they have more interaction. So I'm not sure how long that'll take to get that up, but I guess first step is improve sound, and we'll try to do these very frequently. I think the goal is to hit them monthly, right, guys? Correct me if I'm wrong, at the NGNG guys.
That is correct.
And I think the next step would be, it'd be nice to get to a point where we were interacting in real time with the players and answering questions the best we can and stuff like that. So I guess that's a little different, the vlog, and then maybe it's a separate idea that we're thinking of for interacting with the community in kind of a town hall sense, almost in a way, in real time. So, but as far as the vlogs, I think just expect them frequently and just better. And I imagine people's feedback would be the longer the better. Some people were trying to cut that one down in length, on the various marketing teams. I said, are you kidding me? I mean, these things could be 4 hours long. It's not too long for, our players. So
now these are not
don't cut it.
replacing the walls of text or the forum posts, right? This is just additional content, essentially, or communication with you guys.
Yeah, I certainly have not heard of it replacing anything.
The way I look at it, it's just another bit of communication. I mean, that's one thing I've always said is, being able to, humanize developers. I mean, you see it in the industry, like, oh, the developers don't care, and then you realize, well, these guys are people, and they do care, and they're willing to take the time to record, on their off time and stuff like that. But I'm actually looking forward to it. Next month, you guys are going to get some tidbits, and so before we get out of here, Russ, I just have one question for you in particular. How does that summoner look to you?
I think it looks great. I just can't decide. I think I'm a huge summoner guy. I love my summoner, but I've kind of become sort of, I don't know, like a clan hater almost. I feel like I can't become one. I must stick and like help and defend and protect and I don't know. I'm just changing my whole
salvage,
feelings.
Russ.
Salvage.
It's
Going to be tough for me to go and play that. I feel like I'm always the kind of guy that people say, "Oh my hell, what's a good example? The quick draw sucks." So what do? Well, a better example maybe in the very beginning, dragon sucks. So all I played was dragons, right? Quick draw sucks. All I play is quick draws. I don't know. I'm just one of those guys. It's like the mech and the build that people play sucks. I always want to show that I can play it, and to a degree I can, but obviously people would come up with those reasons for good reasons usually, but that's just kind of how I am. So it probably plays into the clan thing. I'm an underdog guy, I guess is what it comes down to. So I'm gonna probably defend the inner sphere for a while, but I'm sure you'll see me in a summoner.
Maybe you'll become a bondsman, and you can still be a warden. I mean, you can still be a
inner sphere can pilot any mech they want. They just salvage it. Damn it.
Anyways, thank you again, Russ, for everything you do, and of course for being on the show and for supporting the podcast. I mean, I really, everyone behind the scenes, me and Darren and Brandon and all the hosts, Laura. I mean, we really have been able to get a lot of information and to be able to build a relationship because of you. I mean, you were the one, we approached way back when. So I just want to say thank you for, letting us have this opportunity and 100 podcasts talking about stuff that you guys are working on. And here's to another 100 more. So thank you again.
Thanks, Russ.
All right. Thanks for having me. Thanks to everyone who come and peace, everybody. Talk to you later.
Later,
See you.
Have a good night.
Thanks, Russ, for giving me stuff to talk about on Impy's stream.
He's gone. He's gone, George.
That's probably for the best.
He abandoned
Anyway,
I was watching that, George.
What? No, I wasn't doing anything.
Very funny.
No,
All right,
not at
guys.
all.
We're going to go ahead and wrap it up. Don't forget, we do have the Catalyst Game Labs BattleTech Introductory Box Set. The brand new ones are not out yet. And what I mean by brand new, they're doing a new release. They have new minis. I think they're getting a new They got a new manufacturer because of the quality of the minis. They weren't happy. I did reach out to Randall and Brent over at Catalyst Game Labs. Brent basically said there is a ton of stuff right now in the pipeline that he cannot talk about, and this has to do with BattleTech. All things under BattleTech. I'm going to assume it has to do stuff with like novels or board games, possibly card games. I mean, those are the type of things that I affiliate.
All I care about is all the novels on Kindle, man. That would be the biggest news I could get.
Yeah, so he said he will be on the podcast come beginning of April, and there's a ton of news he wants to share with you guys out there about all the goodies. And so I did reach out. Randall is taking care of one of his kids who is sick, so he couldn't be here. It is what it is, and hopefully his son gets a little bit, he gets better. And of course, a big thank you to our community. Holy shit, 100 episodes. Very, very cool. To our listeners, new and old, and of course our amazing staff. I just want to say thank you to Darren, Brandon, Laura, and then of course our newest, newer members, George and Jason, and all of our guests, Tyler, and everyone who's been on the show. Like, really, I mean, you guys make this. You community members make NGNG what it is, and I just want to say thank you for that. I mean, it has been
been a wild ride.
It has. Like, I can't even, like, I was like, holy crap, we're already at 100. Like that just blew by really, really quick. So yeah.
Well, here is to the next 100. I can't wait till the 200th episode.
We should do something special for 200.
We'll start planning it tomorrow.
Yeah.
We should travel into the future and do 200 next week.
Ooh.
I'm down with that.
A look
That
back.
would be so much better than waiting all that freaking time.
I know,
this
right?
took years.
All right, your idea wins, George.
Woo!
We'll call it Words with Duncan Fisher.
Yeah. Spelled with a U.
Drunken Fisher? What?
You betcha.
And of course, I just want to say thank you to our latest sponsors. I've got some names here. Probably going to mutilate these, so bear with me. Serbrand, Westside, Shenanigan, The Mad Jester, Mortison, Sinister Socks, TVS Brent, Hazul, Hellfox, Donamer, Drift Robot, Dementox, Gastaro, Adam O. I'm not going to try to pronounce your name, Adam. Aces. And Lord Ika. Thank you again. And by the way, if you want to become a sponsor, it's just helping support the things like this TeamSpeak 3 server. On that note, some news. We're going to be doing integration with our TeamSpeak 3 server and our forums to where you can register on our forums, apply to your said unit. The unit leader will approve you and it'll automatically give you tags. And for those units that may not have a forums, we'll offer that to you guys as well. And it'll be private. No one else will be able to see it. Stuff like that. And we're going to be rearranging the TeamSpeak 3 based on sponsors. I talked to a bunch of unit leaders. They're all down for it. You'll be able to control however many rooms you want on TS and all that fun stuff. So that's actually coming, hopefully, tested and starting to implement by the beginning of next week. So just a heads up on that. This was your local No Guts, No Galaxy MechWarrior podcast. Signing off for tonight. This is Phil.
This is Darren.
This is Brandon, also known as Catrical.
This is Laura, also known as Laura.
This is Jason.
This is Tyler.
And this was George.
Until next time, Mech Warriors.
It'd be best if you avoid me, but I know you probably can't. You sense something is wrong with me. You can feel it on my skin, but there is more with it. Maybe I can be closer now, but I don't know how. Please don't remove my metal skin, my metal skin, my metal skin, and the wires within. You probably thought it was normal, just a little off. The truth is, at one time I was, but now I'm a robot. Forever